Firstly, welcome to the Biggleswade Town Annual Assembly. This is obviously a slightly different meeting to our normal Town Council meeting. It's a town meeting where we have members of the public able to speak to the councillors. But the first, essentially the agenda is very similar. But first thing I need to deal with is apologies for absence. We have Councillor Knight has sent his apologies. I'm going to move directly into my report shortly, but what I should say is on item number 4, after personnel update from Councillor Russell, Councillor Fage is going to do a central beds update. So just so you're aware of that. And the way that we're going to do this, we'll have the reports from the individual chairmen of committees, and I think, rather than ask questions within those sessions, we'll keep the questions from members of the public at the open forum at the end, if that's okay, unless it's something that comes up you think directly that's appropriate, and that will be, I think, up to the individual chairman of the committees if you want to answer the questions as they're going along. But if the format is that we stick to doing the reports and then the open forum at the end, if that's okay. So in terms of my report, firstly, I should say it's a great privilege to serve as the Mayor of Biggleswade, and I was honoured to be appointed at the second term in May. I'm grateful to Councillor Barrett, who supported admirably in the last 12 months. I'm very pleased to be able to introduce the report here, and I guess you'll see. I'm not going to directly read the report, because so anyone who's watching along, I'm not going to read it exactly as it is, because I know that that's not going to work for me. So bear that in mind. But what I should say, we've done a huge amount of work over the last 12 months, and obviously you'll see the presentations this evening, hear the presentations, so the work that's been done by the council, progress we've made, challenges that we've had, and also any achievements that we've had as well. You'll be aware that Town Council has 4 standing committees: Public Lands and Open Spaces, Finance and General Purposes, Town Centre Management and Personnel. And obviously we do also have an Appeals Committee which is summoned as and when required. And you'll see all in the report here, in the meeting this evening, there'll be reports of all the individual chairmen. Also in Biggleswade, we have a joint committee, and that really considers all the sort of strategic matters relating to Biggleswade, made up of councillors from Biggleswade Town Council and Central Beds Council. And that's usually chaired by a Central Beds councillor, and has been for the last however long, and usually with the vice chairman, deputy chairman being a member of the Biggleswade Town Council, although that's not a requirement. And this year, Councillor Russell has been the deputy chairman, and that committee also meets every 4 years, every four times a year. And I think when you think about Biggleswade and the working together, ward councillors and town councillors, one of the things that we have really been consistent on together is opposing proposed development of up to 416 houses on land north of Biggleswade in Furzenhall. And that's really been something that we've been opposing since 2019 consistently. Unfortunately, in August, for 3 days, the planning appeal for the development was held at Central Beds Council in the headquarters in Chicksands. The Town Council participated actively in the appeal process. We expressed our concerns about the potential impact on local infrastructure, traffic congestion, and the character of the area. But unfortunately, as you'll see in the report, if you're reading along, 6th of November, the planning inspectorate upheld the appeal, overturned the original refusal, and basically granted outline planning permission for the development. In December, a revised planning application was incorporating additional access route from Potton Road. Baden Powell roundabout was approved by the council as well, so we'll have to see what actually happens there. And I know that's a real concern about the impact on the town, and particularly around the Furzenhall and Potton Road area. I think the next item I really wanted to mention, and one of the things I should really say, is I'm not going to introduce items that have been talked about in reports by other members of the other committees. It seems a bit pointless going through the bits of me talking about things so that other committee chairmen are going to deliver. So one of the things we did do this year was introduced a business forum, and that really was about bringing together local businesses. It was about promoting and understanding the current businesses we've got in the town, and also identifying any opportunities for growth and change and connecting business together. It was a great success, and unfortunately I wasn't able to attend. Councillor Barrett did chair. My wife had an accident, which meant I wasn't able to attend on that particular event, which is a bit of a shame. But the other thing that we do very, very well is the Armistice Day and the Remembrance. So in November, the Remembrance Sunday and Armistice Day services were held in the town centre. Remembrance Sunday saw Biggleswade stand together to honour the bravery and sacrifice of all those who served, with many residents, veterans, youth organisations and civic representatives, including the town council, attending. And as always, on the 11th of November, we had a Armistice Day service, which was shorter but equally meaningful. And I think that the thing about that is I've not seen it in every town council and every town that does this. So, but it's a really good thing that Biggleswade does very, very well in both of those events. And I think particularly on Armistice Day was a really sort of reflective atmosphere on that particular event as well. In November, we also have the Christmas light switch on, I think, which everyone who attends that accept the fact that it's a really good event, really popular, and it seems to grow and be more and more successful every year. The next item I'm going to talk about here is in Dunton Lane. Now, you'll be familiar with the fact that Biggleswade had a £70 million project for funding. There was a HIF project, and one of the projects that was about installing a substation, a power station in Dunton Lane. And I'm going to effectively read it out here. Projects are part of a £70 million government-funded initiative aiming at enhancing power, education, rail and road infrastructure to support the town's growth. And Dunton Lane, there was a closure necessary due to the nature of the works and the route and cables needed to take along Dunton Lane. During this period, bus connections were maintained and links between Biggleswade, Pot and local villages continued, but were a little bit problematic. In March, I was very pleased to be able to host the Biggleswade Civic Service at St Andrew's Church. And it was a real privilege to actually recognise the individuals, groups and organisations that make a difference in our community. And I think each of us have an opportunity to play in making our town a place of kindness, cooperation and opportunity. In attendance was Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of Bedfordshire, Susan Lasada, and it was enlightening. She delivered a very interesting and entertaining presentation about the lieutenancy, and talked very much about Biggleswade and made a lot of connection to Biggleswade in the past. Really, really enlightening. In May, early May, the town council is also going to be sending representatives of the town council are going to be attending Erlendsay. Some members will be visiting the town, and Erlendsay, we've been twinned with Erlendsay for 25 years, and I think there's I think 3 or 4 members of the council are actually attending and representing the council, but also going as individuals, and that looks like to be an interesting and fantastic event. You've probably gathered from here that I'm reading from the report. It's not comfortable, but we are where we are. So I'm going to say that I'd like to conclude the report by thanking fellow councillors and officers for their continued hard work and commitment to do the best for Biggleswade. And obviously you'll see and hear the next reports, the huge amount of work has been done and the plans for the future. Thank you. So, Councillor North, if you'd like to deliver your report.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. So I will read from the report as well, try and miss a few bits out maybe. But this has been a year of achievement of a number of long-standing objectives with plans for further enhancement of several of the council's facilities. The opening of Kitelands and Brunel Drive redeveloped play areas were worthwhile achievements, and other significant new projects have moved forward in planning. The maintenance of routine activities continues to be carried out to a high standard by our public realm team. So play and recreation areas, this is one of the key responsibilities of the Public Lands Open Spaces Committee. We've had major refurbishment of Kitelands and Brunel, which are now completed. We have a phase 2 of addition to Kitelands, which we're hoping will be completed later in the year. The Kitelands work is being funded by a very generous contribution from Tritax Symmetry, which are a major property developer and own a lot of the large newer developments on the Saxon Business Park. The efforts we've made in this area included making the Jubilee Recreation Area more accessible to the new housing developments that are close to it, adjoining it. And in fact, we've got a tiny forest that's been established, 600 trees apparently, which sounds like a lot. And a lot of work has been done by the Public Realm team in repairing and refurbishing the play areas, some of the older ones. Some of the equipment was just a bit old and uncared for rather than needing complete replacement. And a programme of upgrading all these areas is in place and we're working on it. The Public Realm staff and depot, we've got a great team of people working for the council and all the outdoor activities, all the outdoor responsibilities. And they have had a location at the depot on the Eldon Way Business Park for a couple of years now, which is a very nice facility, provides good, secure accommodation for quite a number of vehicles that we've got, a workshop to do all sorts of work on various things that relate to our properties. We do have equipment and vehicles have been replaced or plan to be replaced as they reach the end of their useful lives. We think we've got the equipment we now need to do the job. A possible challenge to come, and this is something that is in progress that is not yet finalised, but the responsibility for the green spaces, in particular the areas designated as sporting facilities in King's Reach. But there's a lot of details still to be completed on that and lots of things to be finalised before that actually becomes a reality of the town council actually operating these areas. The flower beds, planters and hanging baskets, which I hope you all have seen and noticed around the town, have been maintained at a very high quality. Improvements have been made in recent years from what was there before, and we now expect a high quality to be the norm. We've made a lot of improvements to the allotment area. I don't know if anybody here has got an allotment, apart from Colin. Yeah. Oh, and Andy, of course. Yes, we have 2 allotment holders in the room. And the council meets with the allotment holders regularly to receive very valuable feedback and information about what goes on there. Grove Road Cemetery. Now, this started some years ago now to have a very extensive restoration project to the Grade 2 listed chapel, which is a landmark in the town dating back to the mid-1800s. That project has now been completed and the state of the building is much improved, but it's taken quite a long time and quite a lot of money to do that. There is a problem of vandalism and antisocial behaviour down there, and we are taking steps to try and deal with it. Stratton Way Cemetery, a lot of work on planning has been done on this cemetery. And in fact, that is now beginning to actually take shape in improvements and developments to the facilities there, the landscaping, planting trees, improving the walkways and roadways. And that's all in progress and will be continuing for another 2 or 3 years until we can say it's completed. Grove Road tennis courts. This is something that's a bit of a weakness of the town in that they have been gradually deteriorating, but we do have a plan now to improve those and get them in place. We're aiming to put in planning permission for the upgrades later in the year, and we are hoping that will move forward, perhaps over the winter before people start playing tennis again, if we can manage that before the sort of tennis season in 26. Saxon Gate, Pocket Park and Biggleswade, Linear Wood. I write here that discussions seem to have gone on forever. And that's not, well, not forever, literally, but certainly a very long time. We've been talking to them about it, and it seemed to just drag on and on. And I write here that the takeover is not yet fully completed, but that was at the time of writing. And I can tell you now that the takeover has been fully completed and that we now are in possession of these areas, and they are under the supervision and management of our public realm team. And we are aiming to improve them for as a facility for the residents of the town. Finally, to talk about another big area of our activities, the Fairfield Road recreation areas. This is the Cricket Club and the Biggleswade United Football Club. We continue to talk with those two organisations about upgrades, improvements, enhancements, and unfortunately, as yet, we've got no definite plans. But we are optimistic that significant improvements to these facilities will be made in the near future. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Foster.
Okay, thank you, Councillor North. So the next presentation is from Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you, Councillor Foster, and thank you all for coming this evening. Just want to take a few moments to talk about the activity of the Town Centre Management Committee over the past year. It's my second year chairing the committee, and it's once again been a privilege to do so. It comes as a backdrop to the town centre nationally as well as locally, that town centre businesses is a difficult one with national insurance contributions, minimum wage rises, rent and rates, all adding to the challenges of our town centres and sustaining local businesses. As people have seen, our residents have seen, we've had a number of retailers vacate from the town centre over the past year, including a national chain, Peacocks, literally in the past week, and as well as some independent traders as well. There have also been further bank closures as well, following a national trend, and we'll obviously have Lloyds leaving us, or leaving the town in November, leaving Nationwide as our only bank or building society. Why am I saying this? Well, it's reflective of what Town Centre Management Committee members have been concerned about, and the lack of banking facilities in the town. The Town Council will continue to work with Cash Access and our local post offices to look at the possibilities of securing a banking hub in the future. On the positive side of this, some of our local independent businesses continue to thrive, and some are even contemplating expansion. So it isn't all doom and gloom. But this does also further cement Biggleswade Town Centre's role, in particular as a leisure and services hub rather than solely a retail one, I think, as well. So showing that change in our high street there. One of the other focuses of the committee is a programme of events, and that's they're usually very well supported by the community. So starting almost a year ago, we had the D-Day 80th anniversary in the Market Square on that Thursday back in June, very well attended and supported by residents. We had a Biggleswade History Weekend in conjunction with the Big Theatre, which utilised the White Hart car park and the horse-drawn fire engine, if anyone else was there to see it. A second Biggleswade Bus Running Day with the United Counties Preservation Society. As Councillor Foster mentioned, our Remembrance Sunday Parade in November, Armistice event, and of course our ever-popular Christmas light switch on. And we also had a visit by some of Santa's reindeer as well over the Christmas period, which was popular with people of all ages. I'm also pleased to say that the Town Council, and some of you may have been there last week, have agreed with the Big Eats a further programme of food and drinks events over the next year through the spring and summer months. And I hope the weather continues as it was last Thursday, because I know last year a number of the events weren't quite as the weather was not quite as we'd hoped. So hopefully we'll continue on an upward trend this coming year. And at the time of writing, well, in fact, it's now gone, but we had 2 Saturdays ago an Easter egg hunt for children in Franklin's recreation ground. I think we estimated there was about 350 people there, all told, in the throughout the morning, which is a fantastic turnout, and well supported by young people and parents in the community. And we also have our Victory Day celebration, if you like, on the 5th of July to commemorate the 80th anniversary of VE and VJ Day in the Market Square. And lots of entertainments being lined up, so do come along to that as well. One of our other responsibilities is on the committee is the market, Biggleswade Charter Market. And since the pandemic, it has been a challenge to encourage, nurture stallholders to come along. However, I think some of the recent efforts we've supported as a council are starting to bear fruit. We've had a series of artisan markets over the past few months, which are a bit more specialist and bringing people in, as well as the Biggleswade flea market we've tried as well. We had the Veganuary market in January, which had different sort of interest in it as well. So constantly trying to reinvent and recast what our market offering is basically. One area that I think does continue to and it does come with under the TCM is the issue of crime, in particular sort of shoplifting and antisocial behaviour. We do have a shop watch scheme in the town, and it's been supported variously by different organisations, but it does exist and it's supported by CBC and obviously Bedfordshire Police as well. And we continue to maintain those good links with the local Biggleswade policing team, including our PCSOs as well. One other area we again have responsibility for, and I think we've made some progress, although it has been a bit hard going at times, has been around car parking, and in particular car parking machines. It's been a very long process to get new and upgraded car parking machines, but I think we're there now, so the town clerk tells me, and hopefully we can see the positive benefits of having those upgrades to residents and visitors alike. Obviously, the town council is quite, I don't know if it is exactly unique, but it's quite unusual for a town council within Bedfordshire to run its own car parks. They're normally run by the principal authority. So that is an extra responsibility that we do have. And then one of the other things is we've looked at, and particularly the Deputy Chair, Councillor Patel and I, is when we've had visitors into the town or different businesses, that kind of thing. We had the High Sheriff of Bedfordshire wanted to come and see Biggleswade Town Centre back in just before Christmas. Bhavesh Shah, who was the High Sheriff until March, just gone. So we gave him quite an extensive tour around the town centre. He got to speak to some of our local traders, local businesses, came away with a very positive view of the town centre, but also recognising some of the challenges that we're facing as well. So finally then, to wrap up, I just want to give thanks to Councillor Patel for being a Deputy Chair of the committee over the past year, and also to all the council officers for the support they've given myself in pushing this agenda forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Woodhead. So the next presentation is from Councillor Strawn for Finance and General Purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm afraid I've got the boring part. You've had all the exciting things from other members about what they've been doing in the town. I just have to deal with the financial matters, which is rather dry. So I won't read its report verbatim, simply because a lot of it's just setting out what happens. But as chairman of the Finance Committee has the responsibility of overseeing and managing the functions of the finances of the council and all the spending that goes on and how we raise the finances. And in that respect, we're reliant on officers who've done a great job this year in managing the budget, as you will see later on in the report. But in addition to the pure finances, we're the committee that's responsible for the management of the Orchard Centre and the management of the council's grant process. So as a summary of the year, the council's performance shows an overall surplus at the moment of just over £45,000. That's subject to confirmation, etc. And in due course, the accounts get presented to the town council and then to the members of the public so that they can actually scrutinise and see what we've done. And hopefully approve of the way we have done it. But everybody has the right to check out our accounts to make sure they've been dealt with properly. So the figures aren't at the moment the final situation. We've worked very hard this year to manage costs and deliver savings, and some things are outside our control, from obviously national events such as national insurance increases, pay increases that are dealt with. Unfortunately, the agreed precept for this year is 1,838,460. Well, last year for this year is £1,838,460, which is an increase of £212,000 or so over the previous year. But this will allow us to continue to invest in the town and also comply with our financial obligations under the statutory provisions. Major activities. We've restructured the financial organisation of the council over the past few years so that we now basically are almost 100% self-sufficient in terms of our accounts team, which has resulted, I think, in considerable improvements in the way that the accounts have been managed, because we've got greater control and greater understanding by having the in-house team, and that's worked very, very well. Members of the public may disagree with that, but certainly as councillors, I think we've noticed it's been considerably better way of managing the accounts, and particularly the preset process, than has been in the past. We'll continue to review our policies and procedures to try and make ourselves more efficient. But this year, the council's applied for over £400,000 of additional grant funding and has successfully accessed over £174,000. And we will continue to apply for more grants and access monies, particularly from Central Bedfordshire Council in respect of Section 106 monies, which is where we've been getting all the development in the town. Developers put in money, which is known as Section 106 money, for certain projects. And the council is continuing to try and access this for supporting things such as the public open spaces and improving the facilities there. So we're continuing to work on that. And in previous years, we've not been able to raise that amount of money. So that's been one of our successes. Also this year, officers have been able to generate cost savings of over £63,000, which is one reason why there is a surplus this year, is because we've actually achieved those savings. We did incur unbudgeted expenditure to improve our football pitches and support Central Beds Council at the planning inquiry, which was already been referred to by the Mayor in his report. As a result of all this work, the council has been able to make considerable savings, which has resulted in the surplus, which we will use to replenish our reserves, because under statutory provision, town councils are meant to keep at least 3 months spending in reserve to cover all eventualities. So this is a legal requirement, and we have to keep the reserves up. And we'll continue to review all its council's financial systems, processes and policies to simplify its reporting structure and improve transparency and increase the council's efficiency. Also in the last year, the council's used loan monies from the Public Works Loan Board to fund the phase of number of improvements in the town's assets. These include going back again to the public land and open spaces, things such as the Drove Road Cemetery and playgrounds. It's already been mentioned that the works at Drove Road and the improvements of Brunel Drive have been effectively completed. And in this last year, 23 grants were made to local organisations totalling £21,807, which goes to charities and good causes that benefit the residents of Biggleswade. We also support the local employment of a community agent by the Bedfordshire Rural Community Charity, and this is a very useful thing for those particularly who have issues around paperwork and understanding how to access services when they're in need. So I think that's a very worthwhile project that we have actually supported and will continue to support. It only remains for me to thank the officers and members, and particularly my committee, for all the work they've put in this year in making it, I hope, what is a successful financial year, and I hope this next financial year will be even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strawn. Our next presentation is for Councillor Russell from Personnel.
Good evening, everybody. Our staff team continues to evolve to meet the challenges of supporting our growing town in so many different ways. Current staff acquire new skills, and if a vacancy occurs, the role is assessed to see whether it's better to recruit somebody with slightly different competencies. The churn in staff that we have experienced has largely been for personal reasons, with people moving to other parts of the country to be nearer their family. Although not happy to lose their experience, we do of course wish them well. The council appreciates very much that as well as dealing with the demands of day-to-day business, staff are willing to work evenings and weekends as required at the Orchard Centre, attending formal council meetings or supporting events in the town, such as the market's Christmas fair and lights switch on and Remembrance Sunday. All council staff have had regular appraisal and target setting meetings and have received a satisfactory or above in their level of performance. All staff also have an individual training plan discussed at their annual review to ensure that they can refresh their skills and learn new skills as required. Many staff have had fire warden and first aid training, and some have had safeguarding training to know how to handle issues like lost children at public events. Over the past year, the committee has reviewed or agreed new policies for capability and absence management, anti-bullying and harassment, health and safety, grievance procedure, and a dress code guidance. In addition, the committee has agreed a more formal member code of conduct, as recommended by the National Association of Local Councils and the Local Government Association. The Personnel Committee receives regular reports on staff sickness levels, overtime, uptake of annual leave, and time off in lieu. These metrics are consistently satisfactory. We want to ensure as a committee that the staff are properly looked after and have all the support that they need at any time. Last year saw the introduction of the first ever council-wide employee survey, looking at the culture within the organisation and the level of employee satisfaction. An outside firm was appointed to conduct and analyse the survey, and their report went to the Personnel Committee, along with proposals to address the few concerns and misapprehensions raised by staff. The committee monitored the implementation of the proposals during the year, and the issues raised by staff have all been addressed. The survey has just been repeated in 2025, conducted by the same firm and with the same questions to allow comparison. It's encouraging to hear that there's been a 100% response rate from staff, and the firm are now preparing their report, which will go to the first meeting of the Personnel Committee in the new municipal year in May. Overall, a satisfactory year. We have a good team at the council, ready to face the new challenges that will inevitably arise. And I'd like to thank our whole staff team. And I'd also like to thank my Vice Chairman, Councillor Gilcher. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm now going to invite Councillor Fage to do an update from Central Beds.
Hello everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Grant Fage. I am Central Bedfordshire Ward Councillor for Biggleswade East, one of 5. Hope the other 4 are all okay this evening. It's been a big year for Central Bedfordshire. I think we are, as a local authority, under a lot of pressure in the same way that we know most local authorities are. 2 big things that are relevant to Central Bedfordshire at the moment. Number 1, finances. We are down at 17 million in reserves, but did manage to run a balanced budget this year to stick to the budget that was set. We now just need to keep doing that, but finances are clearly a constraint. The other constraint is the political makeup of the council. The administration do not have a majority. no one group has a majority. So we have to find ways of working together. That's something that I certainly try to do with councillors of all political colours, provided what they are looking to do is in the interests of Biggleswade. And I think most people stand with the best of intentions. So where we can put differences aside, we do. One of the big changes that is going to come about in the next few years, we suspect, is around strategic authorities. And we know that our leader is engaging with neighbouring councils in Luton, Bedford, Milton Keynes, Northampton and elsewhere to see what that strategic authority and new mayoral area will look like. It will be a big change. Coming on to Biggleswade, which is what I'd like to talk about for the rest of my speech. We have had some investment into the town this year, particularly Edward Peak School, which is undergoing some big changes in terms of new hall and Mooga pitch with floodlighting, which will help to enable it to manage the pupils that are coming in and its new numbers under the setup that it operates under now. We're also going to see similar investment in Lawnside School as we are now have moved to the 2-tier. Speaking of schools, one of the big topics at Central Bedfordshire at the moment is Ivor Valley. I don't know if anybody's been following this, but I went round this school, as I think many Central Bedfordshire councillors have, and it is on public record that it is in a state that is in no way fit for purpose. So it's been a huge focus of the Children's Services Committee, Overview and Scrutiny Committee, to see what options are available to improve that school, whether that is change the existing site, find a new site, expand the existing site. And this decision has now been made. So you won't have seen it, although you can watch most Central Beds Council meetings online. This decision was taken in private, where 5 options were presented, including one of, quote, an adjacent site. And this was all very much the paper which went in front of the public. So 5 options, an adjacent site. Option 1B was then decided in public. So the decision has been made by the executive to expand Ivor Valley School onto an adjacent site. Would anyone like to guess where the site is? Well, it isn't Stratton Way football pitch, although that is adjacent. I don't think it's that. I think the town council would know about that one. I also don't think it's Maunder Avenue because, as Councillor North alluded to, there's discussions around some of those open spaces on King's Reach, which are still owned by the developer. So that leaves only one adjacent site to Ivor Valley School, and that decision has been made without any scrutiny by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee at Children's Services. It did not have the opportunity to drill into the numbers, to consider the various options, despite having a huge number of councillors who have had a lot of interest in this and have a lot of experience. Instead, it was made by a select number of executive members in private, and I think that is absolutely appalling. That decision has now been made. We think that the costs are, well, they've ranged from 33 million 2 years ago to now 78 million for certain options, which would have been to the east of Biggleswade. I think this one that expands to the adjacent site, which is also adjacent to Stratton School, is around the 44 million pound mark, but none of us would know because those figures have not been presented despite being requested by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So we're going to hear a lot more on this. One thing I will just end on saying with Ivor Valley School is it is imperative that those children's welfare comes first, because the redevelopment of that site for children with such complex needs is going to be extraordinarily disruptive, and the council now has an obligation to get this right because we owe it to them. The second big change and big thing that has come across Central Bedfordshire Council this year relative to Biggleswade has been explained very well by the Mayor, which was the Land North decision. We did have victory at the Development Management Committee. We managed to persuade councillors that this application that came forward for 416 houses was not appropriate. That was rejected unanimously, but despite a lot of attempts by a lot of councillors and a huge amount of effort put in by this town council over many years, and by me and by other ward councillors, all ward councillors to their credit. Despite many genuine concerns being raised, I don't think now we're really getting, even though it has now been passed, officers were not firm enough on some of the highways infrastructure in particular that is going to be needed to support this site. We should have been putting much tougher conditions on them, such as changes to Potton Road Bridge, for example, Lawrence Road, Havelock Road, Drove Road, and the junction with London Road. And I don't think very many of those things are going to be there, unfortunately. So we've been really very badly let down by the council in that sense. I put in a freedom of information request related to the decision notice because for those who are not aware, when this went to appeal, there was a lot of controversy that Central Beds didn't defend the position very well. My understanding is that the CBC rep had not actually even visited the site, which came out in the appeal. And you can imagine that didn't exactly strengthen the argument. But I can confirm today that the way that this decision notice was signed off was not good enough at all. There was no officer meeting when the planning committee overturned the officer decision. The officers should have met, regrouped, and formed a proper project team to go and fight that appeal, and that didn't appear to happen. So I am sorry that we are where we are with Land North. I don't think councillors genuinely could have done very much more, and there were good officers who did support us along the way. It's a very, very, very tough uphill battle, though, when you are fighting a site which is allocated in the local plan. Which brings me on to the final thing I'd like to talk about, which is that the local plan call for sites is now closed. We're going to be revising the local plan. So we will see many sites come forward. There's over 600 across the whole of central Bedfordshire landowners who are going to try their luck at getting either a commercial or residential development. That call for sites, we will probably start to see where those sites are soon. I would hazard a guess that we are going to see at least 10 in Biggleswade, I think, possibly closer to sort of 15, maybe even as high as 20 if you stretch your imagination. So one thing I will just end on is it is absolutely imperative that Biggleswade does what it did with Land North, which is all councillors speaking with one voice if we possibly can, because this is the one opportunity to nip bad allocations in the bud, because when they are in that plan, at some point development will go ahead. If we can speak with one voice, we have to, we owe it to our residents. I will end there, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Okay, so Councillor Skilton. I'm going to move on to item 5 on the resolution, but as you wish to speak, so item 5 is a resolution for meeting consider the subjects and resolutions affecting town from local government electors. So Councillor Skilton, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Councillor Fage for his update from Central Beds Council. It would have been nice to have had advance sight of that, and it would have been proper if it was on the agenda. It seems a bit irregular that that item has not been on the agenda. I'm slightly concerned that he's just used the platform at a council that he's not elected to make a political broadcast against the ruling group at that council, of which he's not a member. And I'd like to ask if the other ward councillors were invited to make an update from Central Beds, and how Councillor Fage was selected to make that update.
Clerk.
Thank you. So yes, all ward councillors were invited to this occasion, and as you can see from the agenda, they have the opportunity to speak. The only ward councillor who indicated a interest was Councillor Fage. Thank you.
And I might add, as the chairman, Councillor Fage asked me if you could give an update, and I didn't feel it was inappropriate to do so. I reflected on where that report, that update should be within the agenda, and I felt it should be within the report section rather than an open forum. I suspect if we'd have given Councillor Fage the opportunity to discuss it in an open forum, there would still be some sort of report that came. So I appreciate your feedback, Councillor Skilton, and I'll take that on board. But we certainly did give the ward councillors an opportunity to attend the meeting. I don't think we specifically said we didn't invite Councillor Fage to come and make a report, but Councillor Fage did ask if it was okay to do so. We didn't ask the ward councillors if they wanted to come and give a report, but they were all invited to attend. Okay, thank you. So,
Can I add something?
yes, please do.
I just wanted for absolute clarification as well. The other unusual thing about this meeting is actually normally a meeting would be called by the proper officer, which is in other words the clerk, myself. This is the only meeting that effectively is called by the mayor. So that in that sense, the mayor has the opportunity within law to structure the agenda how they would wish. Thank you.
Okay, so with that in mind, with my proper authority to continue the meeting, if that's okay. Item 5 then is resolutions and questions. So this is, again, I'll reiterate this, for the meeting to consider subjects and resolutions from affecting the town from local government electors. Are there any, is there anything anybody wishes to raise? Hello there. Would you mind standing by the microphone if that's okay? And if you're happy to give your name, that would be okay. There's no requirement to do so, but if you would be willing to do so, that'd be lovely.
Please excuse my reading. I'm very good at it. I've never done this before.
Please, you see me do my presentation earlier, so don't worry about it at all.
Okay, I have taken some notes, so. This is firstly, on a personal note, this is very, very close to my heart. So it's just really a request more than anything else. My name is Sally Ferguson. Firstly, I would like to thank Councillor Jonathan Woodhead for his ongoing support of veterans in Biggleswade. In 2023, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced an apology for all LGBTQ veterans who were affected by the ban on gay people serving in the military between 1967 and 2000. This year, restorative measures have been announced, including the restoration of rank and invitation to regimental events, which I have been invited to. I'd like to commend to the LGBTQ veterans who are no longer with us, and ask the council to include gay veterans in the Remembrance Day parade and to lay a wreath in their memory, and how the town council support me in making this happen. And I'm more than happy to lay the wreath.
So Peter, I'm going to ask for guidance and if you can film me.
Yeah, so just for absolute clarity, any member of the public or any member in the sense of a politician can put forward a motion to this conversation. And then everybody in the room who is a resident or a member can then vote on that. And the council should then put on that onto the next council agenda. So the initial determination is not binding, but there is a requirement on the council to put it onto their agenda, and that resolution would be binding. Thank you.
So with that in mind, and I realise you have sat down again, and I just want to be clear on the what the question was, so that we anyone here in the room can actually know what they would be voting for. So we'll take a sort of show of hands in the room, Peter. Correct. So are you able to just return to the microphone if that's okay, and just read out the particular request so that we're very clear that what we're voting for, please.
My request is to basically for the town council to basically recognise the LGBTQ gay veterans that got kicked out of the army for being gay.
Okay.
At the memorial.
At the memorial. So okay. So thank you very much. Feel free to say. So members of the public here, you've heard what essentially the motion is here. I'm going to have a show of hands, Peter. So for members and residents, absolutely. So everyone present, you don't have to vote. So I'm going to say a show of hands. All those in favour for that to come to the town. All those in favour of that motion, please show your hands. Anyone against? And anyone abstaining? So I think that's a very, very positive approval of that motion. Well done, thank you. And in due course, so that will come to the next council meeting for us to, as the council, to formally consider consider that. So I know Asian, you've got notes of that as well. So so are there any other questions that wish to be put to the council? Okay. Again, if you don't mind standing by the microphone, please.
This is my first time also attending doing this. And it's not necessarily a question, but just a concern I'd like to raise. You mentioned levels of crime as a concern, vandalism. Not far down the road in Kitchen, a pride bench was burnt down. In light of recent legislation passed in Parliament, I was wondering what the committee's thoughts are around making the LGBTQIA residents feel safe in the community. Since a flag policy prevents the town from demonstrating via pride flag this sort of intolerance is not welcome in Biggleswade, how you might go about making people feel safe. I believe the committee here today has a chance to make a real difference, especially for young people who may not feel they can be themselves in a place where they live, and possibly even at home. And I'm not sure why the committee members here got into local government, but I do believe it's because you can make a real difference to the citizens that live here.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much for your question, and I think it's we've acknowledged the fact that we've dealt with the flag policy, and I think the council has tried to be consistent in its approach with the flag policy. I certainly don't feel that certainly as a chairman and as a resident of Biggleswade that we're in any way intolerant, but I appreciate the fact that a particular element of the flag policy suggests that we're not as open. It's not about that. The flag policy is very much about being consistent, not intolerant. So, but in terms of our approach and how we might support the LGBTQ community, I think that's important that we think about how we do that. Now, I haven't got a particular motion, but I think it's very important for us to bear that in mind. And I think perhaps within our council meetings, we will make sure that that's in some way on our agenda without it being not being a key focus, but we make it part of our routine. So it's something that's considered without being a primary focus. So it's part of our day-to-day routine consideration. If it's felt that it's not been the case, then we certainly need to consider that. Councillor Russell, please, if you wanted to input.
I'd just like to say that somebody mentioned, and I can't remember which of the reports, was how we try and work with the police and we get regular reports from the police. And I think one of the things that the council can do is to ask the police every time they come here whether there have been any incidents as a result of the recent decision. Because actually we want to keep everybody safe, including the LGBTQ community. So I think we can make sure that we ask questions on that when they come to council.
Absolutely right. Thank you, Councillor Russell. Mr. Turrell.
Okay, so you're probably aware of this. So obviously there's been a recent change in the law. On Friday, officers are going to be doing some academic exercises connected to how we can keep people safe for future events. We're then also going to be trialing that in situ to try and how we can make that happen, conscious of what you've been saying, but also of terrorism related activity and the like. So over the next few months, a paper will come to council, which will try and articulate the detailed plans that we will have in place that may also require additional security in place to protect people at such events. So if you could just bear with us for now, that detail will come to council and council will then make a determination associated with it. It is the law and we're obliged to respond to the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarrant.
Can you explain in a bit more detail what you mean by all of that? Like you mentioned you'll be doing some activities, is that key training or?
So this is not particular to certain aspects of the community. Effectively, the law has changed where we have to be particularly reflective on ensuring the safety of people who attend events. Yep. And we also need to be very thoughtful of that most extreme situation of terrorist related activity in the main. Yep. So We are thoughtful of that legislation, and we are trying to think about the events that we're going to be having in the forthcoming year and how we can protect people and keep them safe. Yeah, and that's the whole range of events that might happen in the town centre. Yeah. We need to trial that and put together a plan about how we're going to deploy that, and we need to think about how we're best going to do that. It's a difficult situation because you can take it to kind of extremes. Logic would suggest that certain activity that happens in London connected to, for instance, terrorism-related activity might not happen here, but it might happen here. So we need to be thoughtful about that and to put plans in place that protect people as best that we can and to recognise the risks that are local to us. Yeah.
And will you be consulting with members of the LGBT plus community when you're making those plans to make sure that they actually work for the LGBT plus community as well?
We'll be consulting with a range of different stakeholders within the community from all sorts of interest. But we need to really take it. The law has only just come through, so we need to kind of get the plans in place first. And we also need to consult with our members. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Councillor Wood. Go on, Johnson.
Yeah, just I think the town clerk probably hasn't made himself clear.
Come to the microphone, Jonathan.
Yeah, sorry. What he's referring to is something called Martin's Law, which came in on the back of the Manchester Arena terrorist attacks 7 years or so ago. So there's a particular onus around public safety that we have to have in terms of wider public events, so over a certain number of people, which could include physical things like bollards, but it could also include more kind of subtle security measures. But obviously that those events can obviously cover a wide range of things, but it's essentially larger scale public events, and some of the things that Councillor Russell referred to around child safety and lost children and things all fit within the Martin's Law category as well. The other point I want to make as well is that it hasn't been raised, is that the council are actually very supportive of, whilst we've discussed the flag issue, the council are very supportive of Pride within Biggleswade. We actually expressed support for that as well. So I hope our message has got through, because it was a pretty clear position from the council that we were supportive of, of sort of pride events more generally, on the council. So I hope people feel reassured by that.
Okay. So go on, Andy. You're going to go to the microphone, yeah?
Just I think.
Can we just, if you don't mind letting Andy speak, and then we can come back and speak.
So I just think sort of obviously Peter there mentioned a change in the law. I think it's also worth noting there's been a clarification from the Supreme Court, and I think based on that, the question probably needs to be asked: are the town council considering changing their policy on who's allowed to use what toilets in the town? I think that's to put that bluntly.
This is the law that we were talking about. Sorry.
Okay, I think there's probably we've missed the key point there. I think there's made that with we slightly lost that point. I think it's fair to say that we may have missed that key point, but on the basis that there is that ruling, without a doubt, we do have to consider that, and we'll absolutely be considering it. I don't. We haven't really got a clear plan of what that would look like, but certainly on the basis that once we're at a point where we're ready to deal with that, then absolutely, yeah. Okay. Would you like to speak? Go to the microphone.
Hello. Just make sure it's on the green light. It's not going to be my speech is not going to be as impactful as others, but I've got a motion from Biggleswade Pride Committee, not written by me. So thank you to those who wrote it. I'm just supporting today. So the Biggleswade Pride Organising Committee has been working hard to prepare for this year's Biggleswade Pride event. We have the support of the local businesses Drink, the Rose Pub, and Biggleswade United FC. And thank you for your words on supporting Biggleswade Pride as well. We would like to see material support from the Town Council to help make this event a success and demonstrate that the local government welcomes and encourages diversity and inclusion in its population. To bring Biggleswade in line with other local towns, Biggleswade Town Council should officially recognise Biggleswade Pride and demonstrate its support by flying the Progress Pride flag during the event and sharing and promoting the event through their social media channels. The Progress Pride flag represents a broader commitment to inclusion by incorporating representation for trans and intersex people, LGBTQ plus people of colour and those living with HIV/AIDS. Its display would symbolise the council's dedication to fostering a welcoming, inclusive town for all residents. Their recommendation that and the request is that the town assembly consider the following requests: that the town council rescinds recent changes to flag flying policy, that the Progress Pride flag be purchased using capital reserves and flown during Biggleswade LGBT plus Pride, with the flag being raised on Saturday 28th of June and flown throughout the weekend of the 28th and 29th of June 2025, and in subsequent years to mark Pride Month. That town council officers utilise UK shared prosperity funding to support the event and purchase bunting to distribute to local shops wishing to show their support for Biggleswade Pride. This motion seeks to ensure that continued recognition and celebration of Biggleswade Pride is an important event for the town, fostering inclusivity and community spirit. I'd just like to add to that that I do think I appreciate the support that the town council has demonstrated today for Biggleswade Pride, and I do think it is going to be an excellent event for the town, and it is showing inclusivity and making people feel welcome, and it's going to be excellent. I'm not as great with words, so thank you.
Thank you. I hope you understand my where I'm going with this. So you'll appreciate that the motion is sorry.
No, sorry,
Okay. You'll appreciate that the motion, I think, is quite wide-ranging. I think there are a number of elements in there that members. It would be very difficult to record all of the elements that have been highlighted within that particular motion, and I think a number of those, as you know, have been addressed by the council very recently. But it's quite right. A number of those have, but it's quite right that the motion is put to the members here, members of the public and otherwise. My concern here is because there are so many elements there. That there'll be some elements that may be supported by members, all the members here, and some elements won't be. So it's a challenging motion, and I think that's the important thing. I don't think there's I don't know. I don't know whether there is. Bearing in mind that the council has been very clear on its flag policy, that might be a challenge for us. But we could put the vote, but without having seen the motion and in advance, and to be fair, you've read it out, but it was quite quick, and I'm not very clear that I heard all of the things there. I think, Peter, we just need to be clear on how we deal with that. So
I think the gist was financial support to make the event a success, like the other events that haven't been.
Right, yeah. But also,
would you mind going to would you mind going to the only reason for the microphone is so that your voice can be heard by the YouTube? That's the reason.
I think essentially what we're asking is, will the council reconsider its decision not to buy and fly a pride flag or not? That's like the crux of the vote that we were hoping for tonight. So progress pride flag, to be clear.
So there were other elements within the motion which within that, and I didn't pick up all of the elements, and I think that's the important thing. If that's the crux of it, but there are other elements here. What I don't want is that there are other elements of the motion that might be supported, then that might be lost. That's really my concern. But Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion. So, as you say, it was a very detailed presentation with different constituent elements. I think maybe the audience today can come to a view on the generalistic elements connected to that. If we could work with you separate from the conversation today, we can capture all that information And of course, it is required to go to next council anyway, according to the process. And at that stage, we can see it clearly so that members can come to a view.
I mean, without correct, on the basis, and I mean, this is a process thing rather than on the basis that it is supported by all the majority of the members present, if I'm correct, subject to. So I'm not suggesting that there's a vote one way or the other. And I think the principle is that we take a vote on it. I just want to make sure that everyone here is very clear on what they would be voting for at this point. And that's the key point. There'll be some elements of the motion, I think, that some members might be supportive of and some members might not be. And I think that's really what my concern is, that I don't want it to be we can't support some of it, we can support others bit, and as a result the motion fails. That's the key thing. I think we've been here before, and I don't want to be here before where we dilute something and not support something where we could do. Peter.
And as we've just said, the audience that we've got in front of us today can come to a sense about whether or not they're broadly in support of it. The binding vote has to be taken by council as a separate entity.
So, Ran, would you mind sharing? Because I can't recall all of the bits. I'm not sure every other member.
Right, I'm just going to read the recommendations, or the recommendation of the following requests. So the town council rescinds recent changes to the flag flying policy, that the Progress Pride flag be purchased using capital reserves and flown during Biggleswade LGBTQ plus Pride, with the flag being raised on Saturday 28th of June and the flown throughout the weekend of the 28th and 29th of June and in subsequent years to mark Pride Month. And the town council utilises UK SPF funding to support the event and purchase bunting to distribute to local shops wishing to show their support for Biggleswade Pride.
Okay, so that's the question that we're asking all the people present to vote on. So I'm looking then, Peter, you're happy with this, with a show of hands on this? So we're looking for a show of hands for all of those elements that have been reread. We're not going to break it down then, so it's the whole thing all in one go. Okay, right. So all those in favour of that then please show. Count. Looks like 12 votes to me. 12, okay. And those against, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5, sorry, was it 5? So on that basis, that then does come to council for consideration. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other motions, please? Thank you very much. So, hold on a second. Colin, did you wish to? Yes. Go on then. Okay.
Here I am again. I'm going to let Colin take over. We're just, it's not a motion really, is it?
No, it's not. It's just good news for Biggleswade.
Yes, we've got an update from Biggleswade Community Gardens. And just a short summary, as everyone's summarising the year, we just wanted to say thank you for town council support and ward councillor support for the community garden we've received since day one. Over the last few years, we've built the community gardens and we are absolutely growing in strength, and we've got some exciting new updates in the last few months that we want to share with you.
Okay, well, I'm particularly excited and thrilled to announce that Biggleswade Community Garden applied for a grant to improve an area near the railway, you know, the wall with graffiti on it. And it was a very competitive grant. I believe that at least 300 plus individuals, groups councils, CICs, etc., applied for this grant. I don't know how many people got it, but we were awarded what we wanted to redo that wall, to get rid of the graffiti, and we have a plan to put up celebrating the last 200 years of the railway. It's about the 200th anniversary of the railway. So it's going to include images of Biggleswade, it's going to include railway history through the ages. We're going to put on the, hopefully put on the main line with key cities like London, Edinburgh, and particularly Darlington to Stockton, because I'm sure a lot of you will be aware that's where the first passenger railway ever took place. And we are very happy about it, but it's a big project. It's going to be fantastic for Biggleswade. Commuters coming in will see it. We're going to get the community involved. We aren't quite sure how we're going to do that right now, but we do want community input. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. We are asking for input from people who have expertise in various areas. So do you know? Yeah, right. Okay. So we've got your contact. For example, we've got a journalist involved who's going to do our press releases, etc. And we've got quite a few people offering us history on the railways already. It's a year-long project. We have to finish it by the end of March next year. I think that's right, isn't it? And we are very excited about it, but also it is quite a big task for us to take on. But we hope you'll all be very happy for us and happy for Biggleswade that we've won this amazing award to create a beautiful mural on the wall.
Okay. To encourage employees to do the volunteer thing.
That sounds very useful.
So,
yeah.
I'm more than happy to advertise it through the region to see if there's anybody from there volunteer for any of the events that we're doing to celebrate someone.
Thank you. That would be really helpful. We'd like to think, and I'm sure we have got the support of Biggleswade Council in for this amazing thing that's going to be a good thing for the town.
So would you mind, so bearing in mind that the element here, we're talking about resolutions and questions, would you be able to formulate your update to us in the form of a question or resolution so that council can consider how it may approach it, please?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, would we have the town council support, and will we have support in engaging with the community? Because we want as many community groups to be involved in this. We want to involve the History Society, we want to involve lots of other community groups across the town to make sure that it is a really community-led project. So we'd appreciate any support from the town council with advertising, promotion, publicity, and engaging with community groups, if possible. Thank you.
So if I may summarise then, you're looking for the meeting here to vote on this coming to council for consideration to support the project.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll take a vote. All those in favour of that coming to council, please show. Anyone against, please? Any abstentions? So that is supported. So that will come to the town council agenda. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other resolutions and questions, please?
Grant was talking about earlier about some developments happening. So I guess I have a question, and I hope I can phrase it well, because it's a new law coming to place under, I think it's called net neutrality, nutrient neutrality, around the pressure on, say, like sewage systems pumping into rivers. There is a responsibility for those companies not to be doing that, and whether that was something that we used in the fight against, whether the systems that Biggleswade have in place could guarantee that more pollution wouldn't be pumped into the rivers as a result of this housing development. I wonder if that was something that
Okay, perhaps I think it sounds as though that particular question, I think, is that we're now into perhaps an open forum element, if that's okay. Unless there are any other further resolutions and questions, which I'm not seeing, I think what we'll do, we'll move directly onto the open forum, which is then an opportunity to ask questions for ward councillors and of town councils on any subject that you wish. And I think that's where that sits. Now, I am going to ask that if you do wish to ask a question, again, for the reason so that we've got it recorded and people can hear your voices, that you do go to the microphone. I know it's a bit of a pain, but it makes so your voice is heard. Before you do that, Madeline, did you wish to say something at this point?
I was offering to answer.
Okay. Perhaps if you wouldn't, that was, go on, answer the question, because I think it's already there. Otherwise, you're going to go back and ask the same question again, which is a bit pointless. So go on, Madeline.
Anglian Water are a consultee for every planning application. They will have had their say on the planning application. It will have been taken into account by Central Bedfordshire's planning officers and also by the planning inspector. The fact that it's been approved means that we can't do anything more about it. But certainly there's a whole range of things like that that are considered. And as I say, Anglian Water, who are responsible for all of that, are consulted on every planning application.
Thank you. Any other questions to either ward councillors or town councillors, please? Okay, go ahead. Would you mind going to the microphone? I am sorry.
Some of the road improvements that you were talking about earlier, with Lawrence Road now being said that the one-way system is going to be going in there. What are you going to assure the residents around there for the additional needs for the parking, and whether it's, I think the road is actually, the road closure and diversion absolutely needs to be done on the 180. I don't think it's viable to direct people back into Lawrence Road and using Havelock Road as a rat race, which is what it will be. Whereas the main entrance to come into Lawrence Road for the residents from the library coming down. Would it not make more sense to spend less money and revert it in a more viable way so that more reserves can actually go back into fixing the potholes and the road repairs that very much need to, not in just town, but in Central Bedfordshire as a whole?
Okay, so I'm averse to answering the question, but bearing in mind that it's a central beds area because it's highway. So Councillor Fage is going to answer that one.
Thank you for your question. So I think the scheme is now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the scheme is now final. So unfortunately, it is probably a little bit too late to be changing things. It's really unfortunate. Some of these roads in the north of the town, I don't see any proper solution really. There's no perfect answer. If you think about Lawrence Road, that was built for a horse and cart and hasn't got any wider since, and we all now have cars. So I take your points on board. I'm happy to have a look at the designs as they have been finalised, but obviously the status quo of Lawrence Road being two-way, which it has been for a very long time, I don't think that was safe either. So it feels like probably the least bad option, given that there is no, unless you're literally knocking down people's houses, which nobody's going to do. I don't see what option would be available there. Yeah.
On Lawrence Road, the biggest issue that we have is we have dray lorries blocking the entrance to Railway View.
Yep.
Which it's not a commercial place to be parking a vehicle, stopping people going down to Railway View.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if the diversion route is changed to the other direction, they'd be coming in.
Okay, let me take that one away. I obviously know which establishment you're talking about. So let's deal with that one. Can we deal with that one offline? I'll talk to you afterwards about that. Is that okay? Is that all right? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councillor Fage. Are you going to the microphone? Yeah, okay. Okay, absolutely fine. Is there any? No problem at all. Thank you. Is there anyone else wish to ask a question then? No. Okay. Not at all. I mean, but funnily enough, what happens in these you know, over recent years, and I think I'm not going to speak out of turn here. We haven't always had strong representation from residents, and it sometimes can be a little bit anticlimactic, to be perfectly honest. So we prepare for an event like this. We get ourselves organised, and we have lots of town councillors and ward council occasionally, and officers attend, but we don't get a lot of residents and attend. And I think it's been good to have that representation. So yeah, okay, I take your point. We think, but actually, it's really good that we've got questions. And I think we've had a really good positive meeting. So thank you very much for attending. And on that basis, I think we'll close the meeting. Thank you very much.